Okay, so this is the Percy Fawcett Machete from Forseti Steel. It's a, shall I say, formidable knife from a company that I've reviewed a few knives for already. Forseti are known for their Damascus steel blades, so if I bring this in nice and close, you can see the kind of beautiful whirling pattern you get. This is from two different types of steel that are kind of very intensely squished together. I think from memory, he says, I think it's 15N20 and 1095, two different types of steel that are put together. What you get in combination is you kind of get a very hard blade that stays incredibly sharp. It holds its sharpness for a long period of time. But it's also pretty strong. It's not too brittle. The only downside to Forseti blades generally is because of this way the Damascus steel is, it's a little bit susceptible to moisture and rust, so you do want to keep them oiled quite regularly. But this one is an animal. It's an absolute beast of a knife. You can see if I put my hand to it, it's just enormous. It's a 12-inch blade with about another 6 inches for the handle. The handle itself is made from tally wood, T-L-A-I. It's not a wood I've come across before other than with Forseti. I actually had to do a bit of a Google about it. It's predominantly used in outdoor construction, so it's that kind of wood that you'd use on exterior wood that resists kind of rotting and weathering. So obviously it makes a lot of sense here. You can see the tang is incredibly thick. I'm guessing more than 5mm, that might be 6mm or more, and it's a through tang through the entire handle, which makes this extra strong as well. You can also see they've put a hole through the end so you can attach a lanyard if you want to. What I like about the blade and the construction of it is you have a guard here for your hand, so it's unlikely your hand is going to slip down onto the blade when you're using it, and also because of the way it's set up, it's likely that the blade is going to hit any undergrowth and stuff that you're hitting first rather than your hand. Anyone's that used to using machetes or any large knives through quite dense foliage, you tend to actually kind of cut and slice downwards to try and get as much stuff out of the way as possible. So this is, it's not light either, it's quite a heavy old blade, but I really like it. You know, it's easy to say, oh, there's a better blade or a lighter blade for this and that, but I think one of the things that appeals to me about the Forseti blades is that they are perfectly usable tools, but they also look incredibly striking and they're incredibly nicely made. The best analogy I can give, and it's almost a cliche, is Rolex make fantastic watches, two of which I have. They're fantastically well made, but they're also incredibly resistant to just being bashed around. They're proper tanks. I've certainly had one dive watch that's lasted over 10 years and has never had a problem. So I think one of the things I particularly like about the Forseti stuff is the same thing. It's a practical, usable knife. Although obviously it's at the kind of Roman short sword end of knife size, but it's also an incredibly beautiful thing to look at. The tally wood, the way it's finished with this staining, and the Damascus steel blade, which is just absolutely stunning. And this isn't something that's etched on, it's right the way through the whole blade, this kind of effect you can see here. It's really quite striking. The other nice thing about the Percy Fawcett, comes with a really nice leather sheath as well for it to go into. And it's named after a rather famous British adventurer. You could argue that it seems a bit odd to name it after somebody that eventually disappeared in the jungles of South America, but I would say you don't really know your true limit until you don't come back. So Percy Fawcett's had a couple of movies made about him. I know Charlie Hunnam, I think, played him quite recently in The Lost City of Z, which was where Percy finally disappeared in rather mysterious circumstances. But I'm hoping this just gives you a very quick view. So there you go, the Percy Fawcett Machete. It's by Forseti Steel. It's certainly an absolute beast of a blade. It's certainly the biggest blade I've ever reviewed on my site. But it really is rather a striking thing. Just as beautiful, kind of mounted over the mantelpiece or in a display cabinet as it is strung onto your backpack and used as an actual tool. So there you go. If you can, like and subscribe, it makes a massive difference to my channel and my site, and I'll put a link to a much more in-depth blog in the description bit. So thanks for watching.